to break through the how and why and where with me you are.
My parents separated, and as part of their deal, my mom had complete custody of all of her children. So we moved. Despite any pain he had caused me, I still longed for him. I still longed for that relationship, for that love. You know, he's lived a lifetime almost of being punished by his kids, being hated.
And the name of one of your boys is Isaac.
Yeah, I have a boy and a girl. This is Mommy's daddy. Do you want to say hi? You can...
Hi.
Hello, this is Grandpa. How are you?
He's shy.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. I love you, and I'm so grateful that you did take the time to call today.
We do have a power in our own life. I could either suffer for years regretting and longing for a relationship with my father, or I could pick up the phone and have a relationship with my father. You know, the idea that I could do that has changed my life and his.
And he slapped me and he said, "Tell me again, I'll hit her again." And I remember thinking, what did I do wrong? Where did I go wrong? My mother committed suicide. And the difficulty with my father, I blamed on myself, that he blamed me for killing my mother. I went to the Bahamas with my boyfriend to take this yoga teacher's training course. It wasn't what my father had in mind for me, and he stopped speaking to me. When I wrote to him, he sent the envelope back to me. It said, addressee, return to sender, addressee unknown. I heard my father's words, and you can always come home, and kind of got annoyed thinking, when you fail, you can always come home. And then a voice said, what if he wasn't saying that? What if he was really saying, you can always come home because I love you so much. You can always come home because you're the only daughter of my true love. And I went through the house saying, hello, hello, anybody home? And I walked into the living room where my parents were, where my father was sitting. He was sitting in his chair and he looked at me as if he had seen a ghost, and he said, "It's you. I've been thinking of you night and day, of how much I love you, how important you are to me, how much I want to see you, how proud I am of you." Now, when my thoughts changed, suddenly how my father responded to me changed. If I hadn't had that change of thinking, I would bet you dollars to donuts he would have died, and I would have felt bereft, as opposed to feeling that he gave me the greatest gift of my life.
When she was 16, at the beginning of her junior year, it was, I think it was in October, I walked in to wake her up for school, and she was sitting on her bed cross-legged with chugging out of a quart bottle of Absolute vodka. And I just looked at her, and I was in recovery, so I knew right away what was going on. And I broke out in tears, and I looked under her bed, and there were like 9 empty bottles under her bed. And it progressed, as addiction does, and she was arrested, she was in jail. One of the things in a 12-step program, one of the steps is that you do make an amends list. It's basically people that you've screwed over or acted badly with. And of course, every family member was on, high on the list for me. So, and then you make an amend. You basically say to the person, I'm sorry, I screwed up, I was a jerk. I'm going to try really hard never to be like that again. So, I was taking Sarah back to the airport to fly back to San Francisco, and I did my amend with her in the car. And she got to San Francisco and called me that night and said, "Daddy, how do I find, you're going to make me cry. How do I find a 12-step meeting out here? And I told her, and then I kind of mentored her for the first couple of weeks, and eventually I said, Sarah, I really can't be your sponsor. You know, you need to find somebody out there that, you know, preferably a woman, somebody that can help you, you know, guide you through this process. And she did, and she's been sober ever since. And 2 years ago, she graduated from Cal Berkeley and with honors, and she went there on a full scholarship. Probably the biggest miracle in my life to have that happen for her.
Most fathers are fairly clueless about the enormous power that they have over the well-being of their daughters. And like the only really powerful assurances of their value came from the workplace, not from the home. Well, that's not the way their children thought.
It was just open, heart-to-heart talking, and, you know, he was just talking about his pain and how much he was in and how much of a lifetime you've had it. And you know, he was just like, Sonia, I just can't do this forever. And he'd close his eyes and he was tearing up.
I don't know, it's too bad that it takes someone dying to be able to come to grips with things and see things in a different light. Especially someone, you know, that important.
And it would have gone on the way it had been. I would have not had the opportunity to really gotten to know my father and asked him questions about his life. I wouldn't have bothered to tell him, because I would think he doesn't understand, he's too traditional. I wouldn't have bothered to tell him about my life. And that would have robbed him of the bigness that he is.
I realized that some of the things he did weren't his fault, and that he was doing the best he could, and that I forgave him for it. And it opened up our relationship.
Not a day goes by that I don't think about him.
Just go for it, try it. What do you have to lose, really? If you already don't have him in the life, then you don't have much to lose.
Be moved by her. Become you. Become intoxicated by the truth.